Hello everyone, this is Beastly Eel here, and in today's video we're going to be talking about the second episode of She-Hulk, Attorney at Law. So the episode starts off right where the last one ended. We've seen that apparently she's won her court case, and they were celebrating at the bar. Apparently everyone was talking about, so like they do like this montage about like who is the Green Woman, and so they start giving nicknames to her and everything else, like Lady Hulk and everything else, and then they decide to call her She-Hulk, which surprisingly sticks. Now, that being said, so she wins the award and everything else, and she wins the case, and everyone's excited and everything, and then her boss comes to talk to her at the bar and wants to talk to her, not She-Hulk, because she's She-Hulk at the bar, and everyone's wanting to buy She-Hulk a drink. So anyway, she transforms herself back, and the boss explains to her that he's going to have to let her go. Even though she did such an excellent job, they feel like because of what She-Hulk did in saving the jury, that it was a biased trial, and because of that, she loses her job. So she gets a little frustrated with it, is unhappy, and she starts looking for another job. Well, apparently nobody wants to hire a lawyer that is a Hulk, which I find hilarious. So nobody wants to hire her because she's a gimmick. Nobody wants the idea of having a superhero on their team. They'll feel like they'll lose, they won't win as many cases, etc., etc. Well, she's, dealing with her own thing and trying to figure out exactly what she's going to do. She has a family dinner that she has to go to after pretty much being denied by every interview she's been a part of. And her family really isn't as supportive as they should be. So they're all kind of just, trying not to let her feel bad about being fired and everything. And then they kind of make things worse, as most families do. Not on purpose. They just do what they normally do, and because of it, make things worse at the time. So she's definitely just not thrilled with it and everything else. And there's talk in this about Hawkeye, which I find funny, and I bring it up because last episode we talked about Captain America losing his virginity. We also see on her phone that her screensaver or her lock screen is Captain America turned around. So, she has America's ass, behind on her screen, which I find hilarious. But anyway, we talk about Hawkeye in a way that is so different than I was expecting. It's just things that we would need to think about, but just never have. Her dad brings up a good point in the sense of Hawkeye, what does he do with his arrows? Does he kind of just litter them all through the town, like these dangerous explosive arrows, just in buildings somewhere? Or does he actually go around collecting them? Now, we don't actually get an answer to this, but I just find it interesting because when you think about it, it's a legitimate question, and it's definitely something we have never thought of as moviegoers, but I imagine the society inside the MCU have these questions because, well, that's their life, and we question everything. So I just find that interesting because it's just something we never thought of. Or at least I didn't, anyway. Made me think about it in a different light, which I find cool. We also get to see this interaction about with Jennifer and her paralegal, talking about the Avengers and how they don't have healthcare, they don't get paid. This was kind of discussed a little bit in Falcon and Winter Soldier, but we kind of see it in a new light. So Jen is at the bar, drinking her sorrows away, but she can't drink too much because she can't afford it because she has no job. Well, her opponent in the courtroom came into the bar looking for her specifically, offering her a job, specifically in the new division of enhanced individuals. So the idea of this is that she will be representing those who are metahumans, enhanced beings, however you want to phrase it. Superpowered beings are also correct. That being said, she's going to be representing them in a way to kind of get them out of trouble. And when she gets to the office, she finds out that she has to be She-Hulk. They won't allow her to be Jennifer, which is kind of awful when you think about it. But, the amount of money and everything else, she turns into She-Hulk and decides to go do it. Gets this great office, everything else. The stipulation is her first client is Abomination. So it is the guy who becomes Abomination. And she's not sure she wants to take it. And her boss basically says if she doesn't take this case, then she doesn't have a job. So she's trying to debate on what she wants to do, on whether she's going to take it or not. He tried to kill her. He tried to kill her cousin, all this stuff. So she calls Bruce and kind of wants to know what's going on. But before that, actually, I should go back because I do forget things, the order of things sometimes. Before she actually calls Bruce, she actually goes and sees him. And we see him in this very different light, where he seems to be trying to not be the bad guy, which, here's my thing. He really pleads his case in this, and I really can't argue with it. He basically talks about how he was experimented on from the government, given experimental drugs that weren't quite sure of the side effects, could have mentally made him unstable, to then go further with it to go up against the Hulk, which then turned him into the Abomination. And that all those changes made him destroy New York. And, normally I would be like, oh, it's a BS story, but, it's kind of true. Like, when you rewatch it, you're like, no, it makes sense. And it's so weird thinking about that, but he does have a point. So, he's also sent haikus to his victims and everything else. So she calls Bruce and is talking to him about, and when I say talking, she's not really letting him speak. Bruce is kind of just listening to what Jennifer's saying. So in the end, Bruce is like, I think you just called to tell me that you're going to take him on as a case. And she goes, yeah, that's pretty much what I'm doing. And he's like, no, I get it. He and I have talked since, years have gone by, and we've talked. And, he even sent me a nice haiku. And apparently he thinks it's water under the bridge, which is nice to think about. But that being said, definitely an odd dynamic overall. So she calls and accepts the offer, and he goes, great, but, she's talking about how she's got this surefire defense, and he goes, well, I'd watch the news. And when she watches the news, we actually see on the screen the fight between Wong and Abomination blowing up on the internet, which I find hilarious. So that's how the episode ends, and I just find that interesting because we're now going to see the aftermath. So what I like about this overall, this episode is, so this series overall really pokes fun at the MCU in the sense of that we would do the same thing as a society if the Avengers existed. Meaning we'd be questioning what they do, everything that they've done. Are they jerks? Are they, litterers? Have they lost their virginity? Well, did Captain America actually sleep with anybody? These are questions that we would actually ask as a society, which makes the MCU feel so real because of it. And so seeing these interactions, especially with Jennifer and her paralegal and even her family, asking questions like, what does Hawkeye do with his arrows? Just to me, as a viewer, makes it even more realistic, which I definitely like. That being said, this series is definitely one of my favorites. I can't dethrone Loki, but it's definitely a favorite of mine. Like, this is just this series is like a comedy, but also it's just got everything. I don't know. I feel like it's got so much going into it, and it's linking some things together that make it so natural. I don't know. To me, it does. I'm definitely liking to see the Shang-Chi references here. Also looking forward to seeing what happens in the next episode. So obviously in the next episode, we're going to have to be dealing with the aftermath of what happened in Shang-Chi, the fight between Abomination and Wong. And hopefully, and I also assume we're going to see Wong in it, because that's going to be interesting. But we'll have to wait and see. That being said, let me know what you guys thought in the comments below about this episode overall. Do you like it? Do you not like it? Is there something you wish you saw that it hasn't happened yet? Please let me know in the comments below. I also like her fourth wall breaks. They definitely fit. So some people have a problem with it because it's, you know, the Deadpool's thing. She does it in a different way, and I think that's what irritates people, where we got Deadpool first. So like in the comics, I believe She-Hulk came out before Deadpool, or at least before he was starting to break the fourth wall, so she broke the fourth wall. And where Deadpool realizes what he's in and knows that he's a cartoon character or a comic book character or a novel, whatever, depending on the, you know, or even in a video game. But that being said, She-Hulk doesn't know she's. I think of it more like a Truman thing, where like she knows she's being watched, but she doesn't necessarily know why or how. And that's how I've always taken it as for fourth wall breaks. Except for Deadpool. Deadpool is a whole different story. But I think it fits naturally because we do the self-talk. Most people do, and if you don't, then you clearly don't realize you're doing it. We normally don't do it out loud most of the time, although some of us do. But seeing her do it, I mean, it that doesn't ruin anything for me, and I think it enhances what's going on. And it really pushes the story a little bit, and also breaks it up, mostly for comedic effect. But overall, I just like it in general. Now, if you like the content you see, please like and subscribe below. Other than that, this is going to be Beastly Eel signing out. Have a great night.